What a picture. What a picture.
Good picture, yeah.
That is so much fun. All the shooting.
Cheers to the club, he was 12 years old. Fell from the roof on East 29. Kathy was 11 when she pulled the plug. 26 reds and a bottle of wine. Bobby got leukemia, 14 years old. He lived at 55 when he died. He was a friend of mine. Those are people who died. Those are people who died.
I love that stuff, you know, with the killing.
A lot of killing.
From the very first moment I saw the teaser for The Suicide Squad at DC Fandom, I was overwhelmingly excited. Of course, Matt Reeves' panel in the spectacular Batman trailer stole the hype of the night for me, but I would often go back to the teaser of what appeared to be one of the most unique and fresh comic book movies out there. One with different genre, style, approach to filmmaking, and ballsy characters. A movie where Polka Dot Man and Ratcatcher 2 are gonna fight a giant starfish. It looked perfect. Everything I would want out of a James Gunn film and out of a comic book movie. And then the trailer dropped, and another, and then another, and they were all perfect. Not only did they have phenomenal editing and lots of creative bits all throughout,
You know the deal?
they did a great job displaying the exuberant cinematography and comedic but underlyingly heartfelt and tragic tone of the movie without giving too much plot away. The jokes were at first mocked, but the trailers themselves have much better humor than many modern blockbuster movies, with the comedy in the trailer being the main hints at characterization in the film. Peacemaker will do anything for peace, including eating a beach full of dicks. Polka Dot Man is, ironically, suicidal. Harley feels alone and like she has no one that cares about her. King Shark wants to feel appreciated despite feeling dumb. All the jokes from the trailers are actually pretty layered, something that carries over to the movies. It was safe to say I was the most excited for this about a week before I saw it than I was for any other movie at any time. After my Birds of Prey rewatch, I asked myself if there would ever be another comic book film with this level of off-the-charts filmmaking, color, explosive brilliance, sometimes subtle and sometimes not so subtle character work with masterfully unique action sequences, and after the Suicide Squad trailers, I knew that the answer to that question was yes. James Gunn understands the ridiculousness of such a concept for a movie and buries it into the utmost depths of the film, from the themes and character work to the jokes themselves. He knows that these laughingstocks for supervillains are inherently funny, and their interactions are almost immediately warrant a laugh from the audience by centering the banter around the ridiculous characters. You don't need to do much to make the audience laugh when Nathan Fillion's powers for his arms to float over and slap people. The opening scene portrays this humor perfectly. I was expecting these characters I had never heard of to have some pretty pathetic death scenes, but I was not expecting them to be this laughably pathetic. Weasel just drowns right out of the dropship. That's it for him. Pete Davidson betrays the team and gets his face blown off almost immediately. We get to watch everybody's favorite character from the first movie not only get impaled by numerous spikes from the trees, they build it up so that he also gets shredded to pieces by the helicopter. Arm fall off boy, I don't even think gets shot in the body. His arms just get hit and he has internal bleeding or something. Javelin gets shot before he even gets to throw the javelin. The whole sequence is just stupid, gory fun. I mean, who is this orange lady? She has like no lines and doesn't do anything except cause Boomer's tragic death. James Gunn wasn't lying when he said every character had purpose. Then, to top it all off, the title card sequence plays over all their corpses and it's glorious. That said, the dialogue and banter is also extremely funny. Gunn not only managed to make a 69 joke good,
69? How could you get 69 troops into the...
but also a yo mama joke.
You see who that is? Huh? It's your mom!
Lots of the jokes range from pretty subtle, from the irony and layers to this line,
That's why madmen do what they do.
to not so subtle, relying on great line delivery.
No one likes to show off. Unless what they're showing off is dope as fuck. Fuck. That's true.
To a mix of subtle and not so subtle. Like, throughout the main plan, a character we just met named Milton is constantly in the background of the frames, and you kind of forget that he's there. I mean, look at this climactic team-up shot. Little Milton is just right there in the corner. Then, they follow all this up with,
Who's Milton?
What?
and like I said with the trailers, almost all the comedy comes from a place of revealing character. Lots of the jokes have so many layers to them, they just get more and more funny the more you think about them.
In his hands, anything is a deadly weapon. His father was a mercenary who trained his son to kill from the moment he was born. Each member of the team is chosen for his or her own completely unique set of abilities. In his hands, anything is a deadly weapon. His father was a soldier who trained his son how to kill from the moment he was born.
This is not only a perfectly set up and executed joke, it is used to place these two characters as parallels at odds with each other, and this comes into play in the film numerous times later, while also directly addressing the parental issues going through the whole team's dynamic. And of course is paid off as Peacemaker's boasting is proven to be bark and no bite, as Bloodsport is the one with smaller bullets.
I use smaller bullets. What? They go inside your bullet holes without even touching the side.
Polka Dot's intro is just as good. Gunn knows this is a character no one takes seriously and makes the character not be taken seriously.
Polka Dot, man. What does he do? Throw polka dots at people? He does.
In conclusion, this whole movie is funny as hell, and if you can't find humor in a character called Calendar Man showing up for 10 seconds, not doing anything like Calendar Man, and calling a character called Polka Dot Man a fucking pussy with this line delivery and never showing up again, maybe you just hate fun.
Hey, Polka Dot Man, I was hoping you'd entertain my kid's birthday party. You fucking pussy!
Despite being jokes, Gunn knows these scenarios need to be treated seriously. The opening scene is a perfect display of what we're getting into. Immediately, one of the characters dies a horrible death and drowns. We watch in painful agony as these characters are forced into war, unable to leave as they get brutally massacred, blown up, shot to pieces, torn apart, and burnt to death. The brutality of it all gets to the character we opened with, and he runs away screaming until his head is blown to bits by his own government. This serious scene is a wake-up call that while in most comic book movies you can rely on your characters getting through till the end, in this no man's land of nobodies, anybody's lives are on the table. It's also a pretty cool analogy for cruel government policy and warfare, resembling soldiers being forced into no man's land to die during the world wars, and not going over the trench results in you getting killed by your own men, with the opening credits playing over the government sitting back at home profiting off their deaths. It's clearly trying to say something here. I'm also pretty sure that based off some of Waller's reactions to the ambush, and the fact that she puts all the weak-powered characters in one group and the stronger ones in another, and also didn't tell the two groups about each other, and even tells them the army is being distracted elsewhere, and that there's no way for Blackguard to contact the army while in jail without getting caught, I'm fairly sure Waller sent them there to die on purpose, making her all the more cruel. If I'm right about this, it would add another layer as she is willing to sacrifice Rick Flag, probably anticipating his reaction and betrayal when finding out what the mission is really about, but once he leaves she knows she has to get him away from the rebellion to keep him in check, telling the squad that he's captured instead of being with allies. But enough fan theories aside. While lots of the violence throughout the film can be fun, most of it is actually pretty intense with high stakes and emotion, and while the characters are silly, we never stop caring about them. The character work in this movie is insanely well done. Most of the main group are just lonely people with abusive history that are unwilling to make new connections. Gunn loves his humanity and never sacrifices a chance to display that humanity. We need more movies that take the time to show characters goofing off, dancing, feeling free, having a drink, and sharing stories. We need even more movies that can use that fun sequence and then turn it around on its head to show a deeply human sadness of a humanoid shark who will never be able to experience those things, who can't make friends, and when they do, they betray him, doing the one thing friends don't: eat each other. Harley, after her traumatic relationship with the Joker, pushes everyone away and feels the need to fend completely for herself, only to be even more touched when Flag comes to save her. This makes Flag one of the cores of the team, a good man who shows his love and care to the people in the group who so desperately need those things. Ratcatcher 2 pulls the dynamics even tighter and is the only one to reach out to King Shark and make him feel loved while also connecting to Bloodsport, whom, while might seem like in the first scene is the same exact thing as Deadshot, a man willing to do anything for his daughter. The movie turns this on its head and makes him a horrible father figure through and through, which creates a really strong dynamic as team leader. He's a father who pushes his child away, leading a team of children whose loved ones abused, tormented, and experimented on them, and left them. Him, Flag, and Peacemaker form another circle of dynamics of morality, with Peacemaker and Bloodsport bickering over righteousness. Bloodsport kills for money, Peacemaker kills for peace, and Flag kills for his government. After the twist, Flag is there to do what's right, but Peacemaker is unable to grow, and we get one of the best fights in a comic book movie and an even more tragic death.
sometimes. 'Cause that's the only way the roses bloom in my mind. When I cry, when I cry. That's the only way the roses bloom. It's okay, I'm not okay. I feel the disarray of yesterday. Oh my, I need to feel the raindrops on my head, on my head.
Can I just say how much I loved how this movie utilizes its initial plot synopsis? This movie made it so blatantly obvious that, like, why wouldn't you use this concept to kill off half the team in the first scene? Why wouldn't it be rated R? Why wouldn't you incorporate the idea of low-life supervillains into the core of the film? How did the 2016 version even get made? Probably due to loads of studio interference and reshoots that aren't giving Ayer his full vision. It's interesting what happens when you don't let a director do what they want. Anyways, the plot of the Suicide Squad is, like, actually about a secret group of villains doing illegal crap for the government to take the blame if they get caught. The first movie's mission is to save the world. Why do they need to be secretive about that? Why not just send the military? Oh wait, they do send the military with them. Are the military group they send along to the Suicide Squad going to take the blame for trying to save the world if they get caught too? This movie actually utilizes its character's abilities. In the first one, Captain Boomerang barely throws any boomerangs, and there's no visual flair to it when he does. Here, Gunn gives him a sick costume, actual good dialogue, some interesting characterizations with his boomerangs, and a few phenomenal kills. In a few minutes, Gunn made this boring character likable and cool. And of course, instead of the mission being to stop a world-ending threat, the movie twists that on its head and makes the mission about covering up America's involvement in said world-ending threat. I somehow did not see this coming, but it really hit me. Why would you not make Waller the villain of this movie? And it makes for some fantastic villains in both Peacemaker and Starro, both parallels to the rest of the group, with John Cena delivering a surprisingly strong performance. I mean, look at his face of utter offense when Bloodsport accuses his motivations of being flawed. He's genuinely insulted, and it's hilarious. Both his reaction to Flag's final lines, and before he kills Ratcatcher 2, reveal deep inner turmoil I can't wait to see fleshed out in the show. So, funnily enough, one of the best comic book movie villains ever is America. Waller proves to be the most villainous of the Suicide Squad, ordering them to stand down and let the city die now that they have what they wanted. And in one of the most epic sequences ever, they all turn around, one by one, finding purpose and choosing to be good, with their new family that doesn't even have to be called one. Finally willing to die here because
if I die because I gambled on love, it will be a worthy death.
And they aren't just willing to die, but they are going to die until the people see the cruelty of the nation and make a necessary change to help save lives. Polka Dot Man gets a seemingly funny death that proves to be more sad than you'd think, yet cathartic in a way, feeling happy and like he has purpose and done good for the first time in his life, and dying and thinking he's I'm a superhero! Harley finds her purpose, Bloodsport's daughter watches her father become a good man for the first time in her life, and Ratcatcher fulfills the two's promises from the bus scene.
I'm gonna get you out of here alive.
I'm going to get you out of here alive.
Starro's death even has some weight to it, as we realize he too is just an outsider abused by his guardian as a child, taken from his peace by cruel humans that pit these despised creatures against each other. And, in a satisfying ending, the lowliest of creatures, rats, sharks, polka dots, criminals alike, find purpose and save the world. The cinematography is probably my favorite cinematography in a comic book movie. Every shot looks gorgeous. The wides, the close-ups, the extreme wides, the extreme close-ups. The always moving camera carrying this exhilarating tone with every turn, spin, zoom, pull-up, whip, the Alfred Hitchcock, the Evil Dead, and the Tarantino. And the editing working on high precision to match it all. Despite being a bright and colorful film, Gunn made sure to give the whole thing a gritty, grounded, and gross feel to everything. He made dirt and grime and ash look glamorous, which perfectly matches the entirety of the film's core. Even the most colorless shots are well framed and lit and look great, often used to make colors pop. There's plenty of creativity going around, from environmental-based title cards to memories appearing in the windows. The camera perfectly captures both scale and intimacy, just as a movie like this should, not just inciting shock and spectacle in the viewer, but also maintaining a high level of visual storytelling to keep us connected with the characters. Just watching the beauty of every shot in each scene is enough to keep me engaged and want to see it over and over again. And the action, oh boy, the action. Every crack, snap, slice, shot, rip, sear, bang is felt, bringing brutality into the very core of the film. Gunn blurs the lines between horribly gruesome and comedic so that each member of the audience gets a unique experience out of it all. Some will laugh, some will gasp, and it's perfect. The action scenes have a wide range of intended emotional impact, from characters showing off their wide variety of killing methods to putting us in the mind of Harley Quinn with her unpredictable, reckless, spectacularly brutal escape plan playing to the music that's stuck in her head, to genuinely intense, high-stakes fights and oh my goodness, look at that go! Heck yeah, look at that shot!
And just a gigolo, and everywhere I go, people know the part I'm playing. Paid for every dance, selling its romance.
Wait, wasn't that the title for the last chapter? I'm gonna need something different.
I ain't got nobody. Oh, and there's nobody just for me. There's nobody just for me. I'm so sad and lonely.
So, how did a movie like this come to be? How did a studio film get so excessively self-indulgent and creative with some of the most practical set pieces WB has ever done, an immense amount of detail and thought put into the costume design, strategically placed in well-crafted CGI, and new filmmaking technology that allows the director to shoot however the heck he wants? The answer, of course, is James freaking Gunn. James Gunn started his career with a pretty great comedy body horror flick whose monster interestingly embodies almost all of Starro's traits, followed up by a hilarious and extremely vulgar and crass superhero comedy film, both of which were complete flops. And so of course he gets hired by Disney to do a superhero film. Knowing these characters weren't as well known, Marvel took a little risk with Gunn and let him do mostly his own thing, creating a special little movie that stands out among this franchise. After a success, Disney then put full faith in him and let him do whatever he did in that movie, but 10 times better and 10 times more James Gunn. Finally, after getting fired from Disney over some really hilarious old tweets, WB bolted full sprint towards the phone and begged him to make whatever he damn pleased for them and however much money he wanted. Gunn turns down doing Superman and settles on a little group known as Task Force X, looked up the dumbest DC villains and got to writing the script. He calls up John Cena and gets a yes before he gets a word through. He calls up Pete Davidson and says he needs to play a character named Dick Hertz, and he was in. Soon enough, the best movie ever made was about to get made. James Gunn movies are the perfect blend of intense emotion, thrills, and ridiculousness to go along with a comic book film, and he is the perfect director for this movie. But more importantly, his films are a light in the darkness of corporate content-based movie making. Warner Bros. And Disney giving this guy full freedom is a huge step in the right direction for modern blockbusters, and it shows that audiences will eat up that creativity just as much as they would a formula film. Some studios recently have been trying to tear down individual vision, having a boardroom control the inner workings of the filmmaking process, coming up with what happens before they even hire the creatives, greenlighting a movie before knowing who is going to make it, and then, with their own vision in mind, hiring a second unit director to do action without the director's input, taking newcomers and throwing a big budget green screen filmmaking at their face in hopes they can't quite see the final product and need to shoot every scene from as many angles as possible, overworking the same VFX team to do the same VFX style on anything and everything, and many modern moneymakers seem to have lost any sense of voice or magic. DC seemed to learn their lesson after 2017 and started diving into the risk of letting filmmakers do their own thing. No more processing their vision through a corporate audience appealing lens, and instead creating a variety of unique and distinct movies with varying amounts of audience appeal. Wan, Sandberg, Phillips, Yan, Jenkins, whether you like their movies or not, they make something that is unapologetically, unfiltered, unadulterated them. This year, they even released the Snyder Cut, not just for fan entitlement, but for the sake of creative freedom. Something that, for Snyder fans or not, is a very positive landmark for the future of blockbusters. And that path has brought us to The Suicide Squad. an R-rated movie about characters no one knows with the same name as one of the most hated films in the genre, directed by a guy who made 2 flops that luckily got hired by Marvel and then unluckily got fired in the same decade, becomes a massive hit among critics and fans alike, the second most watched opening weekend on HBO Max and an okay box office. All of which brought us to a time in the modern film industry where a character like Peacemaker gets his own show because the studio, rather than deciding to make a movie for money, asks an artist what he wants to do and then lets him do it, regardless of the risk. And that's really cool.
I can't sleep, I hope